Welcome back to the continuation of tonight's reading session. That earlier one was a very short story about Ashley and Prem Bahadur, how Ashley went away and now he came back, and Prem Bahadur left his mortal coil on the charpoy, and the real Prem Bahadur and Ashley walked out forever. So that being so small, it was an interesting, good story. Now I'll read the next story, which is titled A Job Well Done. Dukhi the gardener was clearing up the weeds that grew in profusion around the old disused well. He was an old man, skinny and bent and spindly legged, but he had always been like that. His strength lay in his wrists and in his long tendril-like fingers. He looked as frail as a petunia, but he had the tenacity of a vine. "Are you going to cover the well?" I asked. I was 8 and a great favorite of Dukhi's. He had been the gardener long before my birth, had worked for my father until my father died, and now worked for my mother and stepfather. "I must cover it, I suppose," said Dukhi. "That's what Major Sahib wants. He'll be back any day, and if he finds the well still uncovered, he'll get into one of his raging fits, and I'll be looking for another job." The Major Sahib was my stepfather, Major Summerskill, a tall, hearty, backslapping man who liked polo and pig-sticking. He was quite unlike my father. My father had always given me books to read. The Major said I would become a dreamer if I read too much and took the books away. I hated him and did not think much of my mother for marrying him. "The boy is too soft," I heard him tell my mother. "I must see that he gets riding lessons." But before the riding lessons could be arranged, the Major's regiment was ordered to Peshawar. Trouble was expected from some of the frontier tribes. He was away for about 2 months. Before leaving, he had left strict instructions for Dukhi to cover up the old well. "Too damn dangerous having an open well in the middle of the garden," my stepfather had said. "Make sure that's completely covered by the time I get back." Dukhi was loath to cover up the old well. It had been there for over 50 years, long before the house had been built. In its walls lived a colony of pigeons. Their soft cooing filled the garden with a lovely sound. And during the hot, dry summer months, when the taps ran dry, the well was always a dependable source of water. The Bishti still used it, filling his goatskin bag with the cool, clear water and sprinkling the paths around the house to keep the dust down. Dukhi pleaded with my mother to let him leave the well uncovered. "What will happen to the pigeons?" he asked. "Oh, surely they can find another well," said my mother. "Do close it up soon, Dukhi. I don't want the Sahib to come back and find that you haven't done anything about it." My mother seemed just a little bit afraid of the Major. How can we be afraid of those we love? It was a question that puzzled me then and puzzles me still. The Major's absence made life pleasant again. I returned to my books, spent long hours in my favorite banyan tree, ate buckets of mangoes, and dawdled in the garden talking to Dukhi. Neither he nor I were looking forward to the Major's return. Dukhi had stayed on after my mother's second marriage only out of loyalty to her. and affection for me. He had really been my father's man. But my mother had always appeared deceptively frail and helpless, and most men, Major Summerskill included, felt protective towards her. She liked people who did things for her. Your father liked this well, said Duki. He would often sit here in the evenings with a book in which he made drawings of birds and flowers and insects. I remembered those drawings. I remembered how they had all been thrown away by the major when he had moved into the house. Dukhi knew about it too. I don't keep much from him. It's a sad business closing this well, said Dukhi again. Only a fool or a drunkard is likely to fall into it. But he had made his preparations. Planks of salwood, bricks, and cement were neatly piled up around the well. Tomorrow, said Duki, tomorrow I'll do it. Not today. Let the birds remain for one more day. In the morning, Baba, you can help me drive the birds from the well. On the day my stepfather was expected back, my mother hired a tonga and went to the bazaar to do some shopping. Only a few people had cars in those days. Even colonels went about in tongas. Now a clerk finds it beneath his dignity to sit in a tonga. As the major was expected before evening, I decided I would make full use of my last free morning. I took all my favorite books and stored them away in the outhouse, where I could come for them from time to time. Then, my pockets bursting with mangoes, I climbed up the banyan tree. It was the darkest and coolest place on a hot day in June. From behind the screen of leaves that concealed me, I could see Duki moving about near the well. He appeared to be most unwilling to get on with the job of covering it up. Baba, he called up several times, but I did not feel like stirring from the banyan tree. Duki grasped a long plank of wood and placed it across one end of the well. He started hammering. From my vantage point in the banyan tree, he looked very bent and old. A jingle of tonga bells and the squeak of unoiled wheels told me that a tonga was coming in at the gate. It was too early for my mother to be back. I peered through the thick, waxy leaves of the tree and nearly fell off my branch in surprise. It was my stepfather, the major. He had arrived earlier than expected. I did not come down from the tree. I had no intention of confronting my stepfather until my mother returned. The major had climbed down from the tonga and was watching his luggage being carried onto the veranda. He was red in the face, and the ends of his handkerchief handlebar mustache were stiff with brilliantine. Duki approached with a half-hearted salam. "Ah, so there you are, you old scoundrel!" exclaimed the major, trying to sound friendly and jocular. "More jungle than garden, from what I can see. You are getting too old for this sort of work, Duki. Time to retire, and where's the Mem Sahib?" "Gone to the bazaar," he said. "And the boy?" Duki shrugged. "I have not seen the boy today, Sahib." Damn," said the major. A fine homecoming too. This, well, wake up the cook boy and tell him to get some sodas. "Cook boy's gone away, sir," said Duki. "Wait, I'll be double damned." "Well, I'll be double damned," said the major. The tonga went away and the major started pacing up and down the garden path. Then he saw Duki's unfinished work. unfinished work at the well. He grew purple in the face, strode across to the well, and started ranting at the old gardener. Duki began making excuses. He said something about a shortage of bricks, the sickness of her knees, unsatisfactory cement, unfavorable weather, unfavorable gods. When none of this seemed to satisfy the major, Duki began mumbling about something bubbling up from the bottom of the well and pointed down into the depths. The major stepped down to the low parapet and looked down. Duki kept pointing. The major leant over a little. Duki's hand moved swiftly, like a conjurer making a pass. He did not actually push the major. He appeared merely to tap him once on the bottom. I caught a glimpse of my stepfather's boots as he disappeared into the well. I couldn't help thinking of Alice in Wonderland, Alice disappearing down the rabbit hole. There was a tremendous splash, and the pigeons flew up, circling the well thrice before settling on the roof of the bungalow. By lunchtime, tiffin as we call it then, Duki had the well covered over with the wooden planks. The major will be pleased, said my mother when she came home. It will be quite ready by evening, won't it, Duki? By evening, the well had been completely bricked over. It was the fastest bit of work Duki had ever done. That's good. Over the next few weeks, my mother's concern changed to anxiety, her anxiety to melancholy, and her melancholy to resignation. By being gay and high spirited myself, I hope I did something to cheer her up. She had written to the colonel of the regiment and had been informed that the major had gone home on leave a fortnight previously. Somewhere in the vastness of India, the major had disappeared. It was easy enough to disappear and never be found. After 7 months had passed without the major turning up, it was presumed that one of two things must have happened. Either he had been murdered on the train and his corpse flung into a river, or he had run away with a tribal girl and was living in some remote corner of the country. Life had to carry on for the rest of us. The rains were over and the guava season was approaching. My mother was receiving visits from a colonel of His Majesty's 32nd Foot. He was an elderly, easygoing, seemingly absent-minded man who didn't get in the way at all, but left slabs of chocolate lying around the house. A good Sahib, observed Duki, as I stood beside him behind the bougainvillea, watching the colonel saunter up the veranda steps. See how well he wears his solar topi. It covers his head completely. He is bald underneath, I said. No matter, I think he will be all right. And if he isn't, I said, we can always open up the well again. Duki dropped the nozzle of the hose pipe and water gushed out over our feet. But he recovered quickly and taking me by the hand, led me across to the old well, now surmounted by a three-tiered cement platform which looked rather like a wedding cake. We must not forget our old well, he said. Let us make it beautiful, Sahib Baba. Some flower pots, perhaps. And together we fetched pots and decorated the covered well with ferns, geraniums. Everyone congratulated Duki on the fine job he had done. My only regret was that the pigeons had gone away. That's a fantastic story. This is a job well done. So he put the whatever is in the his boss inside and closed it up. Okay, that's the stories for today. Let us stop it here.